This situation's getting really difficult. Man, I don't know what I can actually talk about on this channel anymore. I mean, today I want to talk about, I saw this really cool video, something that actually put a smile on my face when it comes to all these fucking rioters. So in Portland, where people have been rioting for actually a long time, the bullshit chaos Antifa nonsense in Portland basically predates George Floyd and is continued long after all the George Floyd riots have calmed down. And there's this hilarious video I saw, and I think it was a black guy. It was some kind of guy with at least dark skin. If he was white, he was really really tan. And clearly, judging from the voice of the uh, Antifa protester who approached him on the wrong fucking day and did the wrong fucking thing, that guy was probably white. So before YouTube tries to fucking condemn me just for talking about the altercation that happened afterwards, just be reminded that I am applauding a person of color from defending himself against a white terrorist. So that's literally what happened. So a bunch of Antifa people came around and they were just marching through, and there's some guy in a parked car, and as you know, you're basically a target if you're in a car for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but Antifa and BLM have always felt the need to attack motorists, block streets, do everything they can to be disruptive. So it's not just a matter of being loud or attacking public installations that are just there, like buildings or parks or whatever, or statues. They always feel the need to make sure that the general public lives in fear of them because they're a violent terroristic mob. They are not actually protesters of any kind whatsoever. They are literally domestic terrorists. They are actually a enemy combatant of the United States. And honestly, if this was a sane society, this is the part that could get me in trouble. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, if this was a sane society, they would be met with force and not by riot cops. They'd be met by the National Guard, and it would be a matter of surrender or it becomes an actual combat zone, because that's what these people are. They're enemy combatants. That's what that word means. I'm not saying that's what I want to happen. I'm saying that what should be happening is national troops should be stopping them with more than beanbag rounds and tear gas canisters, honestly. Because what we're looking at is treason and violent terroristic sedition. I mean, it's more than just saying you hate this country, it's actively attacking it, and it's more than just saying you hate the citizens of this country, you're actively attacking them. So anyway, the thing that put a smile on my face was one of the Antifa people just completely unprovoked opens this guy's car door and starts threatening him. And the guy gets up out of his car, and the Antifa coward, which is hilarious, immediately backs off. This man is not armed. He's there with his bare hands. The guy who's facing the Antifa person appears to be a roughly 5'5" or 5'6". Is not a large man at all. Promptly grabs this Antifa motherfucker and chokeslams him to the ground and says, "You don't touch my fucking vehicle. You never fucking touch my vehicle ever fucking again. You hear me? You know what's going to happen to you if you touch my vehicle again?" And immediately the Antifa guy's like, "I wasn't going to do anything. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to do anything." And then the guy just promptly gets back in his car and starts backing out. And immediately the kid who got chokeslammed, all of a sudden, once the guy's back in the car, he's almost like a guard in a video game. Like his AI behavior just completely resets once he's not being engaged anymore. He immediately goes back to like yelling at the guy and saying, "We need to get a lot of help over here. This guy chokeslammed me. This guy chokeslammed me." And I'm not like exaggerating with my voice. You can hear him almost crying under his voice, like he's hitching, like he chokeslammed me. And then somebody else comes over, like, "We got you on video, motherfucker." Because even though the revolution is supposedly not going to be televised and they attack anybody with cameras, oddly enough, in Portland, it looked like the major weapon of choice, quote unquote. I'm joking. The thing that was in the hands of most Antifa people weren't particular weapons; they were cameras and phones. It was just like all like a social media opportunity to these fucking losers. So this guy apparently had a bow and arrow in the back of his car, which, like archery's like a sport, whatever. People sometimes hunt with that shit. I don't know about in Oregon, maybe. There's still a bunch of country out there. So they changed their tune from just harassing this guy So he chokeslammed the dude who opened his car door and literally threatened him right in front of his face. Like, once you open the car door, there's no, like, barrier there. And his car was parked, so there was no way whatsoever to say, like, he was a threat to them because, like, he'd run somebody over or something. Because Antifa loves to pretend that cars are, like, weapons, so they have an excuse to just respond with equally lethal force with, like, bricks and guns and shit. No, this guy was just trying to leave, and then they were like, oh, he's got a bow and arrow, and they did the classic Antifa call of, we need a bunch of guys over here. Anybody armed? We need a bunch of guys over here. You know, it's that classic shit from way back in, what was it, 2014, and that one fucking, I believe this might have actually been an Evergreen college, I forget, but it was definitely a West Coast college. I can't say for sure it was in Oregon or Seattle or Portland. Oh, wait, yeah, is Portland in Oregon? Yeah, I want to say it's in Oregon, and Seattle's in Washington. I mix those two shithole states up because they're basically the same shithole anyway, so I'm sorry. But and you remember this redhead teacher chick, when just somebody was just documenting a protest that was happening on campus, because college campus used to be where you protested, not the middle of the fucking street downtown. And she said, like, you need to leave. And he's like, no, I don't actually have to leave. You know, I have the First Amendment freedom of the press. And she immediately screamed, we need to get some muscle over here, and like roughly 30 students didn't attack him, because back then the SJWs weren't necessarily usually in the business of fighting people, although that shit did start in Portland, I'll tell you that. Some of the earliest riots that were centered around appearances of Ben Shapiro and Milo Yiannopoulos at universities started in Portland. But, you know, she screams, we need some muscle over here. And like fucking 50 students come up to this guy. They don't attack him, but like they just start bullying him with their bodies, saying like, oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Again, like these people are literally preschoolers. They're children. But they physically removed him by just sheer mass of like a wall of people walking at him, you know. And of course, this is not the way leftists protest anymore. And even, I gotta say, even back then, I was saying, dude, these people will kill you if you let them. And they've started killing people, by the way. My most annoying thing in the world about this leftist shit, and I'll end with this, I know it's an extra subject, but activist judges, especially a lot of Clinton and Obama appointees, have basically removed the rights people. And I gotta tell you, the fact of what happened in Charleston with the death of Heather Heyer was a unintended vehicular manslaughter. I believe the guy's driver's name was James Fields. At least his last name was Fields. I know that part is correct. And she died of a heart attack after being hit by his car. She did not die directly from the injuries sustained being hit by the car, but she did have a heart attack and die as a result of being hit by the car. So it's a secondary cause, but same thing. And he was fleeing from protesters who were pelting his car with bricks and rocks, and one who had pointed an AR-15 assault rifle, well, not an assault rifle, AR-15, you know, Armalite rifle at his car, and he hit her by mistake. And and the judge basically overruled any kind of evidence to his defense, including video evidence, from the courtroom, made sure that he basically couldn't defend himself, and then made sure he was charged the maximum amount of years for the many, many offenses the state of, was this Virginia, I believe, charged him with, and he was sentenced to 114 years in prison, which is about 10 to 15 times more than you'd get charged with for rape, or it's about, 5 or 6 times more than second-degree murder. It's absolutely insane that happened to that guy. And that's the only death you can blame on the alt-right. It took me 2 minutes to get there, but the point of me telling you the story of James Field is everyone said Antifa has not killed anybody. BLM has not killed anybody, but the alt-right has killed one person. The amount of people who have died in these riots that have occurred since the death of George Floyd numbers almost in... I haven't looked up recently, but I know that the number is higher than 50. More than 50 people have died at the hands of BLM and Antifa in just the past couple of months. So, yeah, who's the bad guy now, really? Anyway, thanks for watching.